Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You are back at the spot, the place where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? If so, it's time to put them on because the conversation starts now. We're ready.
Yes, ma'am.
On the Edge, Brains. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney and Diana Camba. This is so wonderful. Brains, I tell you all the time, I build relationships, okay? It's not just about being a guest on my show. I've done this for 26 years, okay? What it is the human interaction with each person. And I had a gift. She drove down from Temecula, which is about an hour and 15 minutes away from San Diego, to have breakfast with me, to meet me, to engage with me, and so I could feel her energy. And I'm telling you, she's a gift. This is a strange gift. It's the gift of death. It's the gift of death. People plan for their lives, they plan for their babies, but they do not plan for their transition. And that could be with your will and trust, that could be with your funeral arrangements, that could be with the preliminary and the aftermath of grief. Diana's got an incredible story how she lived above a cemetery, a mortuary, and interacted with those energies with the dead so she can communicate with families that are grieving. So I'm not going to tell her more about it because I was just fascinated by her story. I'm going to let her do it and welcome her to the show. How are you, Diana?
I'm great. Thank you, April, for having me here
Yeah.
today.
Did I get that all encapsulated? I get so excited because we had such a
You
great
did.
time. Where do we eat? We ate at the Broken Yoke.
Yep. Yes, ma'am. In
Yep,
Mission Valley.
in Mission Valley. We sure did. So tell us a little bit about you and how you show up in the world. Share with them your story.
Okay, I appreciate that, April. My journey started really young. I had three major losses before I was 10. When I was 5, my uncle was killed in a car accident, and I was so curious. My dad went ahead and started taking me to a local mortuary on Saturdays just to learn more about the funeral business. And we did that for 3 years. So my dad and I learned a lot about it. And 4 years after my uncle was killed in a car crash, a helicopter going from Disneyland to LAX crashed in the
Mm-hmm.
cow pastures by my elementary school in the early evening. And the week it took for them to investigate that and take care of the situation, again, I spoke with John Meese from Paramount Mortuary, and he just taught me so much. How many adults have the patience for a 5-year-old child to ask lots of questions about death?
Mm-hmm.
And he did. And then 8 months after that helicopter crash, my best friend, Michelle Parker, was murdered.
Mm.
And that was 2 weeks before her
Wow.
ninth birthday.
Wow.
So that was three major losses before age 10. And then another incident that I'm not sure if I told you about, April, or not, but in 78, so this was almost 10 years after Michelle passed,
Mm-hmm.
PSA plane crashed in San Diego.
Yep.
And that was a connecting flight for me that I had missed by about 10 minutes because my flight was late leaving Monterey. And so I learned so much at an early age. I learned, what is it like when you're surviving a crash
Right.
and
Because you have
survivor's guilt.
survivor's guilt. It's like, what? Yeah. And that's a trip. You would seem to think that people will be relieved. Oh my God, it didn't happen to me, but it's like, why didn't
Yeah,
it happen to me? It's crazy.
exactly. And, wondering what God has planned for me. Because it's like, okay,
Absolutely.
if I wasn't in that plane crash, why? What happened? What does He have planned for me?
I had a guest on my show years ago. She was one of the winners on one of those TV shows like American Idol or something like that. Hey, she's toasting with us, Brains. You see, she got her mug. Representing. That's right. Thank you, Diana. Uh, and she got severely burned. It was only her and another person that survived. And she was on one of those singing shows. That girl can
Uh-huh.
sing her tail off, but she thought about that for years to this day,
Yeah.
and she's
Yeah.
very disfigured, but she's like a supermodel now. And
Yeah.
people really
Yeah.
gravitate to that. So your life is not over till it's over. And death is a transition, Brains. I don't believe that it's the end. Some religious doctrines believe that. Okay, go right ahead. Okay. But as my mother would say, from the womb to the tomb. Somebody told me a
Yes.
beautiful story one time. They said that when you are brought into this world, you enter in through a place of urination and defecation, through a puddle of blood and slime. You could be forced out, you could be pulled out, you could be cut out. But when you arrive, they've thrown a party for you. Everybody's hugging and kissing you, and there's bright lights, and they have presents for you. And you go through this thing called life, and then you got to transition and go through another portal. And you
Yeah.
could be pushed out, cut out, forced out, just pass out.
Yeah.
And that is the next transition to the next phase of what we know as civilization. But there's a party for you over there too, because all the people
Yes,
that went
ma'am.
before you, they're waiting for you.
They
So
are.
tell my brains one of the craziest stories that you can remember working in that mortuary, girl. Because I'll be watching I watch the crime stories, and they talk to the body. They say that the body, there's still it's part of the soul there. Come on, it was the meat
Yeah.
suit. And it can tell and give clues as to what happened, how they're feeling. Maybe they want to give a message to a loved one. Is that true?
Yeah, it is April. And, it's interesting. When my mom passed 16 years ago, it was on a Sunday. And she had been in the hospital for a week. And my dad wanted my sister, nephew, and me to go to church with him. And my mom's like, no, I want Diana to stay here with me. And we were singing songs, her favorite hymns. Um, Probably about 10 minutes after they left, the physical therapist came in to assess my mom, and she just started rolling her eyes. Her and I communicated a lot with our eyes. And I go, that's okay, you don't have to. I knew she didn't want to go through that again. She'd been ill for 14 years and had a lot of complications. And it was interesting. A few minutes later, the doctor walked in and she crashed.
Hmm.
And they worked on her for an hour. And I was so blessed because I had a pastor friend of mine that I knew was in Bible study before his church service, but he took my call and stayed on the phone with me for that hour.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
And when I got back in the room, you could see my mom was talking to some of her relatives who had passed before her. And it was such a blessing to see that. And then when my dad passed 12 years later, he was a pastor over 50 years, and he wanted to be buried, or actually viewed, in his clerical collar and his robe that my mom had made him. And then he was cremated and placed in the same grave with my mom. But when I went to go dress my dad in his clerical collar, because I'm one of the few people that knew how to put everything together,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
the girls there were so nice and kind, and they're like, he was a grandfather to us, can we help? And they did. And then 4 hours later we had his viewing. And the interesting thing, April, was when I saw him at the viewing, he was just a shell. His soul was already gone.
Oh, girl, yes.
He was waiting to be in his robe and clerical collar before he returned home to the Lord and to be with my mom again.
Well, when my mother passed away, I was very fortunate too. My mother lived here with us, and I laid my chest upon her chest, and I felt her very last heartbeat. She gave me permission to stay. I gave her permission to go. There was no secrets, there was no lies, no deception. It was peace.
Yeah,
I didn't fall all out. I thought I was going to. That was my girl. But she's here right now. Her
exactly.
essence is here more so in this present
Yes,
moment than it could ever be, because the spirit is translucent and it's ever present. And people,
very true.
they well, they have epiphanies. Oh, I think I heard this, or maybe this is my intuition, or maybe this is fear. I get it. Ask the questions, but ask the
Yeah,
questions to the
yeah,
Almighty and to the peace of all
yes,
understanding and wisdom. Now, beyond
yes,
working in the funeral business, you are also working with people to prepare, because brains, you got to prepare for it. That's the worst thing you could do, is to leave your family with a mess. And so many people
Yeah.
do it. Do you think that you're not going to pass away? You don't have to be old to die. Okay.
That's true.
And
That's very true.
I mean, something debilitating happened to you and you just fall off or whatever. But at least if you can put something in place, get a little will, get a little trust. If you've got a little money, say you're military. How many military families out there, spouses, do not know what your right of survivorship is? Oh, you just going along to
A
get along.
lot.
Okay,
A
a lot.
lot.
And then
Yeah.
your spouse, look at all the stuff that's going on in the world. You don't know if you're going to be able to get any money, how to contact the VA, how to get this burial taken care of, uh, paid for by the government. Where is there availability for that body? How to get the
Yeah.
body back, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I could talk all day, but Diana, that is her zone of genius because she was down here in San Diego. So she dealt with the military. Give them a couple quick tips on things that they should do if they have an emergency death that just happens. What are the first three things they should do?
Well, when you call, you first have to have the death pronounced. So if the death is at home, if you're on hospice, you call the hospice. If you were at home with just family, you call 911 and the paramedics have to come and pronounce the death. So the death has to be pronounced before you call the mortuary. And a lot of people don't realize that. And then when you call the mortuary, you let the mortuary know that your loved one was a veteran because you have veterans benefits. And a lot of people don't realize that the spouse, as well as the veteran, gets a free burial space at a national cemetery.
Three
Now,
brains, that'll save you a boatload of money.
yeah, definitely. And Fort Rosecrans is closed unless you have a loved one that's there and the spouse passes away and they have the space reserved for the spouse. But we have a beautiful national cemetery in Mira Mesa, and they're going to be building one in Carlsbad.
Really?
Well, actually, I take it back. It's not going to be a national cemetery. Carlsbad is building a huge veterans memorial park that's
Oh,
going to be
okay.
phenomenal. So you have
Kind
Mir.
of in a way like the Vietnam Memorial. You know,
Yes, yes,
I'm telling you, when
yeah,
you walk through that, if any of you have ever been to Washington, D.C. and walked through that Vietnam Memorial, you feel the energy of those people. You feel the
yeah.
souls of centuries. And then if
You do.
you touch the wall, it's just like it's just unbelievable. It is just unbelievable. But I want to change the subject just 1 second because of the cost of funerals. Now, I'm gonna be real with you. I told my family, do not put all that money in the ground. Don't put it
Yeah,
in the ground. Go ahead and cremate me and blow me over Europe somewhere fabulous, the south of France, because I am with the Lord. I've already
yes,
separated my soul.
yes.
That's how I feel.
Amen.
Some
Amen.
people go to the point of writing their own obituary. Some people go
No.
to the point of writing their own guest list. They're non-negotiables. Take care of your business. Apologize to people if you need to apologize to them. Make amends. If you don't, make amends with yourself. Make
Yeah,
amends with your God of all understanding. Work with somebody like Diana that kind of knows, that helps you what's going to happen when it gets quiet. Because again, after the service, after
yeah,
everybody goes home and Aunt Martha's butter cake is gone, then what are you going to do? She helps you with that as
exactly.
well. Tell them about
Yeah.
the post.
Yeah. After the death, family is around for the funeral. And it's amazing how 6 months later, they've moved on with their life, but you still have a lot to go through, especially if you're grieving a spouse or a child. And sometimes you feel like you're getting stuck. And I'm here to help you name and acknowledge what that loss is, help you work through it, and come out on the other side to where you're carrying the loss in a different way and you're living a legacy honoring that loss. And there's just so many ways to do that. I've created the Seasons of Healing Journey, which has winter where you name and acknowledge the loss. With spring, we honor and create rituals for around that loss. Then in summer, you realize who you're starting to become. And with autumn, that's my favorite because you're living the legacy and honoring the person or the loss in a different way, carrying them, but you're celebrating them.
Absolutely.
And when,
That's what black folks do. I'm gonna tell you. It used to be back in the day. A couple things would happen is that they wouldn't acknowledge the death to children. It was
right,
like it's taboo. You need to tell them
yeah,
it's the real deal. Little kids pass
yes,
away too. Um,
yes,
Also, folks would fall all out. You see them all. I know you didn't see them. They be hooping and hollering and slobbering, and they want to get all in the coffin. Folks don't do that
yep,
now. They sit very dignified.
no, yeah,
They
yeah.
understand what it is. They look and see that it is only a shell. It is what it is. Or, maybe I'm glad that some bitch gone. You know,
That happens sometimes.
they happen sometimes too. But
Yeah,
they are aware of it, and people handle it a lot differently now. Again, like I said, the expense. There's one mortuary. I know that you up in that area, so I'm not going to name what it is, but they make it's mandatory that you get two plots. Oh, and after one person dies. So it is very expensive. And then they will say things to you like, oh, well, no one can tell you how you want to intern your loved one 40, $50,000 later. If you've got it, spend it. I have no problem with it. But when you work with
yeah.
somebody with Diana, she could tell you, well, I don't know, April, you might want to reconsider that. You might want to look at this option. You might want to look at this company. What was in the insurance policy? Because if a person has a $50,000 life insurance policy, you want to put all that in the ground,
Yeah.
so she knows the ins and outs.
Yeah. As a licensed funeral director, I was in the funeral industry over 30 years, and the last 11 years I was a licensed funeral director. And in those 11 years, I worked with over 1,000 families personally. And I was not a typical funeral director. I'm not trying to sell you the most expensive casket. I'm not trying to have you spend thousands and thousands of dollars on flowers. What I always tried to do is find out who the person was, what were they like, what did they enjoy, and help the family create a great service and celebration of life around that person, but in an economical way. So, I'd rather see you spend less on the urn for cremation or even the casket than you can take that, and there's so many things you're going to need after the death that I'd rather see that be spent even on a party with family getting together and celebrating,
Yeah,
have a
you
nice
do a
barbecue.
celebration of life. People are cremating and they're going to the park or they're doing their favorite thing. They're telling funny stories. They're eating that person's
Yeah,
favorite food. They're playing music. It is a
yeah,
celebration. It is a gift to be on
it
this
is.
for
Yeah,
whatever duration is.
when my sister passed away 10 years ago, I she did not want the typical funeral. She wanted to be cremated and she wanted a nice party. So I told the kids, I said, no one can wear black. You
Hmm.
have to wear bright colors. And they were so used to when my mom passed, you wear just black back then, and so many different things, that tradition that's more solemn. Whereas let's celebrate this person. My sister was creative. She created a lot of quilts. And so
Hmm.
we displayed several of her quilts. And some of her quilts were smaller panels that she had framed. And she had 5 kids, so I bought a plant for each of the children, and we had that. So we had bright colors and something they could take home and plant in memory of their mom. And, we then went back to the house and had a great barbecue
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
pizza, for the kids. And it was so wonderful. And it's exactly how my sister wanted it. And it's
Exactly.
so nice to do it like that.
And
It
when you
really
do it, it
is.
lightens your heart. You don't have to sit there and
Yes.
look at this cold, dark corpse. Because I told him, I said, I don't want folks looking at me. I want a lot of flowers and, just have a nice, pretty urn. But I just don't want that because I already know what my plan is. I'm working on my plan to transition as we go because we are
Yeah.
in a lunar vortex. We are in a portal of change. Brains, believe it or not. Just because you don't see the matrix, baby, it is happening. Read the
It
book of
is. It
Revelation.
is.
Okay. It is telling
Yeah.
you what is going on, whether you like it or not, it's going down. It is by design. Tell my brains quickly about your program because I want to ask you some fun questions before we conclude. So tell them a little bit about
Okay.
and the service you
All
provide.
right. So, as an end of life concierge, I provide a variety of services. I help people whose parents are starting to decline. I have a great booklet, 10 questions families wish they had asked before they need the answers. And it's conversations that you can have with your parents, your partner, your loved ones, and it helps you just realize what are you going to need for that end of season journey, because there's so many things when a parent starts to decline that you need to do. And I also, after the death, work with people and do grief counseling and coaching. I'm not a counselor. I my background, is basically the funeral industry, but I've had so many losses myself. I know how to help you through that. I do one-on-one as well as small groups. I call them sacred circles.
Mm,
And we do educational portions, we do paintings with acrylics, and people just love it because of the fact it helps them realize there's losses that come up that they weren't even aware of.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And back to something you said earlier, April, we don't talk about the death of children. We don't talk about murder. There's so many different, what I call invisible grief that society doesn't acknowledge, that once a month I do a free master class on invisible grief, the losses nobody acknowledges.
Right.
And I'm just about through with my book, The Losses Nobody Acknowledges.
I had a one of my guests on. She was on yesterday, and she says that she doesn't go for uh, the negative apologies or the buzzwords. I know how you feel, or what can I do for you? I told her, look, don't beat us up because we're trying. We don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's different for everybody. All you can do is say, look, I'm here. If there's anything that you need, just please, I want to support you. If there's anything that you need, please tell me what that is. If it's dinner, if it's babysitting, if it's $20, if it's $100 and you have it, go ahead and pay it forward because it will be worth it. But I want to ask you some
And
cheeky questions. Oh, go ahead, baby.
I just want to say one last thing. One of the best things you can do with people when they've had a loss is just sit with them quietly.
Yeah, hold space.
That's the best place. And go ahead, Miss April. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's all right. So let me ask you some fun questions, some uplifting questions. Who's your favorite angel of all of the great divine creator? Who's your favorite angel?
Oh, I would say Gabriel.
Gabriel. I thought you were going to say Gabriel. Why would it be Gabriel?
Oh, just because Gabriel's the archangel. Gabriel has the trumpet. He's the one that celebrates.
Right.
You celebrate a loss. You
Absolutely.
don't bury it inside. You want to celebrate it because it changes you. It makes you become a new person.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's really amazing. I just love that.
If you had not grown up in this industry, in the funeral industry, and I love this too, Brains. Did you hear how she said that she is a grief concierge? What is your title? Official title?
End of life concierge.
End of life concierge. There's no coach up in there, okay? Because she has a full suite of service. So pay attention to that. Words are powerful. So if you could have been in any other industry, what do you think you would have done?
Nursing.
Nursing, still caregiving, still loving,
Mm-hmm.
supporting people.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. Do you have
Yeah.
children?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you have nieces and nephews?
I have a lot of nieces and nephews and grandnieces and nephews.
Right. Do you ever talk to them, or do they know about the family business and
Oh,
what you have?
definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I feel it's really important. When we lived above the mortuary for my 16th birthday, I had a slumber party above the
Oh, woo,
mortuary.
woo, woo.
And,
Those are good ghost stories, huh?
yeah, yeah, and there was nobody downstairs, and I gave them a tour of downstairs. And I had so many people tell me, thank you for letting me know death isn't scary and it's part of life. Because when they experienced their first death, they were able to handle it easier
Right.
because I had talked to them. This is the process when we receive a loved one into our care. This is what we do. This is how we prepare them. This is the chapel that we use. These are the rooms we use for viewing. And just explaining the process. And I even explained about the death certificate to them because a lot of
Right.
people don't understand that.
They don't understand.
And, you know, my best friend since fourth grade, Janice Moore, now Janice Woods, but we've remained friends since fourth grade. And she was at my party. And we were at her grandfather's funeral about 15 years later. And she goes, do you remember your 16th birthday? I go, yeah, that was fun. And she goes, I got so scared though after the tour of downstairs, I called my parents 1:30 in the morning to come pick me up. But she was the only one. And
Exactly.
I said, yeah, I said, that's okay. And she goes, but it really helped me. It helped me when Grandma Ruby passed, when Grandma Josephine passed, and now that Grandpa Fuller
It's
passed.
an
So
explanation
thank you.
beyond words, beyond words.
It
And so
is. It
we have to
is.
have that
Yeah.
conversation. We have to speak that language. If you were a tool in a toolbox, Diana, what tool would you be?
Oh gosh, that's a tool in a toolbox.
Yeah,
You know what? I think I would be sandpaper
really. I never had.
because I want to smooth things out for people. I
Oh,
want to make transitions easy for people. I love having the conversations people don't want to have in a comfortable way. And people tell me I have a really good way of explaining things without making them feel scary. So
right.
I want to smooth things out.
Good, good. I want to be the screwdriver.
Okay.
I just want to tighten it down, baby. Tighten it down.
I love it. I love that,
Or an
April.
appliance in the kitchen. What appliance would you be?
I would be a tea kettle
Really?
because I love having a nice hot cup of tea in my favorite mug
Yay.
to calm down at the end of the day.
Right,
That's just, I love tea.
right. I want to be, let's see, because I like to change. I like to move around in the kitchen. I think I'll be the air fryer.
Okay.
It's quick, it's slick, it's clean, it's trendy, makes things tasty. It's absolutely wonderful.
It's the best.
It's
That's
the
the
best.
best. That's my husband's favorite appliance in the kitchen.
As the air fryer. And the
Yes,
last
ma'am.
question, I have two questions for you. The first one is, what would you tell a person that is in a space right now? Maybe they are the person in hospice. Maybe they are the person that doesn't have a lot of family members to support them. Maybe they are a person that is transitioning. I had one story. I wish I could tell it, but I can't divulge who this person is. But they did an assisted suicide with their son,
Hmm. Hmm.
and the story that they told me was unbelievably beautiful. It was unbelievably beautiful. So, what do you tell people that are just right at the crossroads?
You know, I've had families that have done assisted suicide, and this one family I just want to share, they did family portraits with their loved one before the assisted suicide. And they made a celebration and honored the person before they had the assisted suicide. But if you don't have family, there are so many groups that are loving and caring that want to come and sit with you and be with you. So reach out. Let people know. Reach out to me. I have a lot of references and contacts of people. And, you know, life is so precious. I don't like to see people end it prematurely. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk because there's some things that you can do to help out. But also, when you do the transition, my sister was the most peaceful of anybody I ever knew
Yeah.
when she was dying. She was so at peace because she knew she was going home to be with the Lord. She knew she was going to be reunited with mom. And, her and mom were best friends. They loved doing things together. And just the peace of knowing there is life after death.
Right.
You're going to have a party. And there's so many ways you can deal with it.
Right.
Let's
And
have a
some of it,
conversation.
but and good. I want them to. I want to get your contact information. But Brains, I need you to understand too is you have to have that conversation because it's ever evolving. Your life is going to
Yes.
change in a minute.
Yes.
And again, all deaths are not going
Yes.
to be pleasant. You're going to have some spontaneous accidents, death by suicide, death by murder. There's a lot of things, but
Yeah.
you have to understand is that it's not necessarily what happens, it's how you live your life and how you transition. And that's what
It
you
is
want
how
to do
you
is
transition.
you want to raise
Hmm.
that vibration for yourself
Yes.
for yourself.
And that's why I love the season of autumn, where you're transitioning because you're carrying the grief in a different way.
Right.
You are carrying a legacy. There's so many things you can do as a legacy to honor your loved ones
Right.
and have celebrations, even if you don't have family. And I've had people whose family was on the East Coast and they never came out, and I've worked with them and spent a lot of time with them. And we had some great celebrations of lives for them after they had passed. In fact, one of my best friends that passed last year, just real quickly, her little dog, she was so concerned what was going to happen to Jack. And her vet took care of Jack and said that he would take care of him. Jack passed away it was just 2 days before the 1 year anniversary of her death. And her wish was for when we cremated her, she wanted to be scattered at sea with her husband, which I had taken care of her husband about 15 years prior. And so we went out on a boat with her grandchildren and we scattered her out by Point Loma.
Mm,
And we scattered her husband. And when Jack passed, I went out to that same spot and placed him there to be with her. And her kids didn't understand that. Some of her kids, her granddaughter loved the idea, but her daughter was like, "Why are you doing that?" I said, "Because it was your mom's wish. I'm honoring
oh,
something I promised her." And
exactly.
it's important.
And
That is so important.
but they're doing all kind of things. They're planting trees now. They're infusing the remains and the ashen into diamonds, wearable jewelry.
Yes.
They
Yes.
are, putting them, sprinkling them in the yard. You got to be careful now. What you're doing. This is a. It's not a
Yeah.
contaminant. It's not a contaminant. But what is it? It's not biohazardous. But what is the ashes from a cremation?
It's it's considered to be a biohazard, so you have to be really careful how you dispose of them.
Mm,
Um, but there's certain things you can do. And one thing a lot of people do too is they have art glass that you can put some of the cremated remains in and have a heart or have a sculpture. And there's just so many things you can do with cremated remains now.
right,
There really
right.
are. It's
Very trendy,
it's really
brain.
cool.
What's on trend? So please, before we conclude, Diana, tell my brains how to get in contact with you. I want them to call her brains and just have a talk with her. Okay? There's no obligation, but I'm telling you, what she
There
poured,
is no obligation. Yeah.
what she poured into me at breakfast, I got a lot of things in place, but there was some things that I could tighten up on. Go back and revisit that. Go back and
Yeah.
understand your benefits. Your husband passed away 10 years ago. Go on these websites because sometimes there's unclaimed insurance money, there's unclaimed pension money. Go in there.
Hmm.
Diana was going to help you with that. Cost effective. Really, you love your person, but the truth be, they're gone and you got to continue to live on. So look at that too and have
Yeah, I
a
have I
dignified
have a
way.
complimentary peace of mind call. It's a 30-minute conversation just to give you some peace of mind, give you some ideas of where you may need to tighten up some things. Get that screwdriver out, Miss April,
Okay,
and tighten things up.
absolutely. And
Um,
just sit down and have you a cup of tea.
exactly, exactly.
Please, Diana, tell my brains what is the best way to get in contact with you and what your offering is.
Come to my website, cambaconcierge.com. That's CAMBA, concierge, CONCIERGE.com. You can schedule from my website a call with me. And it also tells you the different services that I offer. And I'm also available to do workshops and speaking engagements for groups. And I just love meeting people and just sharing some time. We can do a peace of mind call that's a 30-minute complimentary call, review where you are. I can give you some guidance, and there's no obligation. You don't have to continue
Wonderful.
working with me after that. I'm just here to help and assist.
Well, we know that they're going to work with you because she's amazing. If you have a women's group, we're talking about the Sorobsimists, the Eastern Stars, the Rotary Club. This is an important conversation that you go in, and she's not a Debbie Downer. She's not going to, whoa, 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 whoa. You know what I mean? It's not a
I'm not.
happy, perky conversation to think about it, but it is something to think about. And I think that that's very powerful. And that's a very value added service that you can give to your group, your ladies group. Hospice providers. Maybe you don't know the most recent information. Nurses, functional nurses, holistic nurses, spiritual goddess. You can talk to her, okay? And talk to her through me. No, you can go to her direct. But here on the Edge, Brains, I want you to love, like, share, and become a subscriber. Love, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much, Diana. You are the best. It was so fun meeting you and having breakfast with you. You're going to stay close to me because you're right up the road.
Yes, ma'am. We got to get together real soon. Have
All
another
right.
cup of coffee.
All right. I love you, Brains, deeply and completely till death do us part.